Sam, don't be afraid. I will not leave you alone tomorrow. Let your hands talk in the ring.
What's up, fight fans? This is Kurt DeVille with Counterpunch Boxing News, and I have some new news concerning Jarrell Big Baby Miller. Get this, Jarrell makes an eye-raising claim about the undisputed champion, Oleksandr Usyk. Get this, Jarrell Miller states that I know for a fact that I can beat Usyk. With me training and having a proper training camp, I know I can beat Usyk. Miller 26-1-2-22 is confident, but he has some work to do before a matchup with Usyk is realistic. For starters, the New Yorker needs more activity. He also needs to grab a few wins. And those are the words of Jarrell Miller. Let me counterpunch. I love different fights that could possibly happen. The matchups are endless at this point. You have so many possible matchups to the point where at some point, regardless of how good you really are, I think someone will have your number on a given day, and I think you would have to go back, circumvent, rebuild, and then try again. I think that's what makes you great. Me personally, since the Mayweather era, we've been looking for people that have been undefeated that got out of the sport. There's a lot of people that's done that. It's just, I think Mayweather was famous for that. You had Mayweather, Andre Ward, Joe Calzaghe, Oleksandr Usyk thus far. But I think the more you challenge yourself, the more likely it is for someone to beat you on a given day. Why am I saying that? I'm saying this because Jarrell Miller is 300 pounds. Oleksandr Usyk fighting Jarrell Miller would be a pretty interesting matchup based on the durability that we know that Jarrell Miller has. He has a track record, okay? And he's been tested, and he still hasn't been dropped. Now, he's been stopped by Danny Dubois because, they stopped the fight in the 10th round. But, I think that was totally an ammunition issue, right? So, that being said, I do think that Jarrell Miller saying that I think I could beat Oleksandr Usyk. I think it's a certain point of time when you keep hearing the same stuff from the same person. And let me explain. We heard that in the Dubois fight. We heard that in the Andy fight. We've heard him say the same thing about, hey, listen, if I had a proper training camp. The question you ask yourself, well, at what point do you decide to get into the shape to the point where you are 100%? Because each time, and I'm not saying Jarrell Miller looked bad his last fight. What I'm saying is he looked a lot better than he did in the Dubois fight because it was the Dubois fight then the Andy Ruiz fight. But with the proper training camp, I think at some point people especially heavyweights, they need to start being held accountable for what type of shape they are in between fights. Because if they're not in charge of that shit, that can easily go south quick. Or should I say in their case, north. Because they can easily gain a massive amount of weight and you really don't realize it because there's no regulation in the heavyweight division. There's no heavyweight than super middleweight. Of course, the WBC and the WBA are tolerating the Bridgerweight bullshit, but that's not really a real weight class, to be fair. Okay, that's just smaller heavyweights. But you don't have to be prepared, or you don't have to discipline yourself to make heavyweight, because heavyweight is heavyweight. And because of that, I think people take advantage of that shit and they end up gaining 30 pounds. Look at Jarrell Miller. Now, again, he looked good against Andy Ruiz, but he did not look like he should look to say what he could do, and that's beat Usyk. I think Oleksandr Usyk I see Fist City, honestly. You know, I see Fist City. I see a lot of pressure from Jarrell, but I see Fist City. Pivots, bobs, weaves, punches, and bunches. That's just right off the top. Now, Jarrell Miller, you know, he's like a big refrigerator coming at you, right? And he's coming at you and he's punching back. The doors are going to be flying at you because he's going to be attacking, but still, I think he's durable. I think he's that guy that, you know, he needs a fight. He does need a fight. And I hope he gets one. And why not be ambitious and call out Oleksandr Usyk? Hell, everybody else is, including guys that were just prospects last year. And yes, I'm talking about Moses Atoma. But you guys tell me what you think of Jarrell Big Baby Miller stating that he knows for a fact that he can beat Oleksandr Usyk. Of course, please subscribe. And you guys been Counterpunch. Peace!